Welcome to History Headlines, a series for IHSHG that offers a roundup each month of major history-related news stories so you can stay informed with what's going on in the historical world. In this episode, we'll cover the 100th anniversary of Tutankhamun's tomb, the discovery of the sarcophagus of a powerful lord in ancient Egypt, the oldest written sentence in human history, and a 2,000-year-old coin proving that an emperor believed to have been fake was in fact real. If you enjoyed today's content and you haven't already, please do consider liking and subscribing, as well as checking out our YouTube channel, Facebook, and Spotify for more historical content in English and Portuguese. We begin today's episode with the 100th anniversary of one of the most significant archaeological finds of all time, the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun. The 26th of November marked 100 years since the archaeologist Howard Carter discovered the tomb of the Boy King, one of the most richly furnished and intact royal burial chambers in the history of Egyptian archaeology. Yielding over 5,000 artifacts, including the iconic golden burial mask of Tutankhamun himself, the discovery kicked off a worldwide fascination with Egypt's ancient history that continues to resonate well into the modern day. It should come as no surprise that around the world, many different events are taking place to mark this monumental occasion. We saw in the last episode how the National Geographic Museum in the United States has produced a revolutionary new exhibition using visual effects to bring the world of ancient Egypt to life. And likewise in Britain, a commemorative coin is being released by the Royal Mint to mark the occasion, and an exhibition in the Petrie Museum is taking place, entitled Tutankhamun the Boy, Growing Up in Ancient Egypt. It should come as no surprise, though, that one of the most elaborate commemorations of the anniversary is taking place in Egypt. The centerpiece of commemoration is the Grand Egyptian Museum, an enormous showcase for the total 5,000 finds. A staggering sum of 1.032 billion euros, 889 million pounds, or 1.07 billion US dollars, has been spent to establish this, under the direction of Egyptian government minister and army officer Major General Atef Mufta. In addition, the country's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities staged a specialist ceremony at the site of the tomb, including dignitaries from all over the world in addition to local and international media, as well as a number of prominent Egyptian bloggers and influencers. This has been accompanied with additional projects, such as the reopening of the Avenue of the Sphinxes in Luxor near the Valley of the Kings, and a restoration of the House of Howard Carter for its use as a museum, as well as further museums in major cities such as Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada. Despite some controversies about the use and abuse of tourism, the commemorations are generally well received. One expert in gilded wood, Ahmad Abdrabu, has said, "For a young Egyptian, it's such an honor to see many treasures from Tutankhamun's tomb come through our laboratories," and adds, "Month after month, our heritage passes before me." If that wasn't exciting enough, an enormous sarcophagus has also been discovered in Saqqara, an ancient capital 20 miles south of Cairo. And it's here we turn to our second story of the month. The enormous granite tomb was discovered by an emeritus professor of archaeology at Cairo University, Professor Ola El-Agwizi. The sarcophagus was discovered in a burial chamber, unearthed after a vertical shaft was spotted by one of El-Agwizi's team. The professor herself led the exploration of the tomb, lowering herself down an 8-meter shaft in a bucket with a hand-cranked rope winch, wherein she discovered this magnificent sight. The sarcophagus is believed to belong to the minister Ta-Emwia, the treasurer of the mighty pharaoh Ramses II, who ruled from 1279 to 1213 BCE. Many Egyptologists believe him to be one of the most powerful pharaohs in the history of Egypt. He was one of the most extensive monument builders in all of the ancient kingdom, creating a number of iconic buildings, such as the Hall of Karnak, the complex of Abydos, the Temple of Abu Simbel, and the Ramesseum of Thebes, as well as being a prolific military campaigner, waging war against many of Egypt's traditional enemies, such as the Berbers of Libya and the Hittite Empire. The sarcophagus itself is covered in hieroglyphs, emphasizing closeness to the pharaoh, as well as the emblems of guardian deities, such as the sky goddess Nut, using covered wings to protect the dead. By discovering this tomb, Alaguizi hopes to be able to shine more light on Tarem Weir's life, which up until this point has been shrouded in some mystery. Finds like these are of course extremely rare. Ola Alaguizi told The Guardian, "The discovery of this sarcophagus in its original place in the burial shaft was very exciting, because it is the sarcophagus of the owner of the tomb, which is not always the case. Sometimes the sarcophagus is a different person of a later period, but the tomb was used in later periods. But this time, it's not the case." Peter der Manuelian, professor of Egyptology at Harvard University, said Saqqara is one of the most important cemeteries for both royals and non-royals throughout the millennia of Egyptian history. This Egyptian team has added yet another important chapter to the history of this site. The excavation was captured by National Geographic, who will be featuring it in an 8-part documentary series entitled Lost Treasures of Egypt. Continuing the theme of significant discoveries, one of the oldest written sentences in all of history has been discovered on a comb for lice. The comb itself was found in Israel and Tel Lachish in 2017 by a joint team from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and the Southern Adventist University in the United States. The inscription, however, proved especially faint and was only studied in detail as recently as December 2021. This month, the Jerusalem Journal of Archaeology has released a study of the comb, identifying the inscription and its meaning. The sentence was discovered on an ivory comb for removing head lice, and contains a sentence in Canaanite, the earliest known alphabet. Dating back to 1700 BCE, the sentence itself is a plea for the user to be rid of lice from the hair. It reads in 17 small Canaanite letters, "May this tusk root out lice of the hair and beard." The Canaanite writing system itself dates back to 1800 BCE and comes from the ancient civilization of the same name that flourished in modern Syria, Israel, and Palestine in the 2nd millennium BCE. They were a notable regional power, mentioned by ancient Egypt, the Amarna letters of Assyria, and the Hebrew Bible. Lachish, where the comb was discovered, was a major urban settlement of this ancient civilization. When the comb was inscribed, the alphabet was still in its early stages of development, according to the journal, and was one of the first formalized alphabets in known human history. The author of this study, Joseph Garfinkel, said this is a landmark of the history of the human ability to write. This is especially exciting, as up until this point very little was known about the Canaanite alphabet, and this is the first time we have a complete sentence in Canaanite, which Garfinkel hopes will be able to allow for deeper understanding of this ancient language and the history around it. The materiality of the comb is significant as well. Ordinary folk from Canaan would use combs made of wood or bone, so this one, scholars suggest, may have been a luxury item imported from places where elephant ivory could have been imported, such as Egypt or northern and western Africa. And finally, a 2,000-year-old golden coin studied in the UK has proven that a fake Roman emperor was in fact real. The emperor in question, Esponsian, was believed in the mid-19th century to have been a fictitious figure, but analysis of the coin now suggests that he was a real figure, who led Rome during the troubled period of empire in the mid-3rd century CE. The coin itself was discovered in Transylvania in northwest Romania, the former Roman province of Dacia. It was discovered in 1713, but was believed to be a fake and was kept to one side in museum storage, as it bore the name of the Emperor Esponsiano. At the time, it was believed that Esponsian was a fictional character in Roman history, and was thus dismissed. The accusals came to the fore in the mid-19th century, citing the poor design of the coin as potential proof. Prior to that, the coin's provenance was hotly debated amongst antiquarians who were unsure of the coin's actual authenticity. Now, however, microscopic analysis of the coin has revealed scratch marks, with strong evidence that the coin was in circulation 2,000 years ago. The scratches match similar coins from the late Roman Empire that were kept in pouches and moved around during this period, strongly suggesting that it too was routinely circulated, and therefore likely in use during the time itself. According to Professor Paul Pearson from University College London, who spoke to the BBC in an interview, what we have found is an emperor, He was a figure that was considered a fake and dismissed by experts, but we thought he was real and played a part in this story. Esponsian was believed to have started life as a military governor of Dacia, one of the toughest provinces in the empire to defend. It is believed that Esponsian controlled the region from 215 to 217 CE and steered the region through a challenging breakoff from Rome itself, withstanding a plague epidemic, civil war, and political intrigue. He was crowned emperor as the region was cut off, and the coins were minted so that the province could remain self-sufficient throughout its isolation. The coin is now on display at the Hunterian Museum in Glasgow, where it was formerly kept in storage. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of History Headlines. Thank you very much for listening, hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next episode.